As soon as I finished speaking, he was stunned, and so was I. And no, it's to chase your dad. The corner of my mouth was broken, and I spoke a bit incoherently. You've got. He pointed to his own head and said, Are you crazy? I waved my hand and began to size him up. When I died, he was in junior high school. If it weren't for that mole on his nose and those eyes just like my sister's, I would have hardly recognized him. I didn't expect you've grown up so much. I sighed. Do you know? Son, actually, I'm your dad. Surprised? Unexpected? Come and let me give you a hug. I opened my arms and raised my eyebrows. You're really crazy. He shouted angrily. I'm your dad. It was really a waste to save you. As soon as he finished speaking, a strong wind blew up, and there was thunder and lightning. I was startled and quickly covered his mouth, saying, Don't talk nonsense. It's disrespectful. You'll get struck by lightning. He pushed me away and waved his fist, saying, Come any closer and I'll beat you to death. A sudden fit of coughing interrupted my explanation. When I spoke again, my voice was completely hoarse. I'm really your. When you were a kid, the pain in my chest made my breathing tremble. I felt dizzy, my ears were buzzing, and I fell to the ground with a thud in the spinning world. The last thing in my field of vision was Mateo's panicked eyes. When I woke up again, I was in the guest room of my villa. Good boy, he brought his dad. Me, home. As soon as I went out, I saw my former lover sitting upright on the sofa. His well-ironed suit had not a single wrinkle, and he exuded an air of nobility and aloofness. It made my heart skip a beat. I really wanted to mess up and dirty his clothes. Who could have thought that I'd come back after being dead for several years? I was so excited that I almost ran down the stairs and then threw myself on him. Husband, next to me. My son dropped the strawberries in his hand in shock. He suddenly stood up, nervously looking at us with his mouth mumbling incoherently, and juice spurted out. He must have been beaten stupid in the head. I'll pull him away right now, because I moved too fast and Benjamin didn't have time to react. He threw his office computer on the sofa. He put one arm around my waist, and the hem of my school uniform fluttered upwards. My waist immediately felt warm. My husband's hand was still as warm as before. The warmth on my waist seemed to burn into my heart. We were extremely close. Our breaths intertwined. I looked up and was about to kiss his chin. My son grabbed the back of my collar and pulled me upwards forcefully. Benjamin frowned coldly and pushed me away with a sudden force. My shoulder ached from the push, and I fell onto the sofa. I quickly sat cross-legged and looked at him with bright eyes. After 7 years, he was even more handsome and charming. His mature face made my heart tremble and my eyes well up with tears. Benjamin, it's really been a long time. Husband. My son Mateo covered my mouth with his hand. I stared at him with wide eyes and then looked at Benjamin. He had stood up and stared at me coldly, saying, Mateo, don't bring just anyone home. Oh, I got so angry. I pulled Mateo's hand away and said, Benjamin, Benjamin left. Mateo let out a sigh of relief, sat down and said, William, are you crazy? What are you shouting about? Of course I'm not crazy. Anyone would be extremely excited after being separated from their husband for 7 years. I looked around at the decoration of the villa. It was almost the same as when I left. It seemed that there was no new owner. I knew it. Benjamin couldn't possibly find someone else. But after all, it had been more than 7 years since I died, and I really wasn't sure. I nudged Mateo's arm and said, Is there anyone around him? You mean Uncle Benjamin? He glanced at me warily and asked, What are you going to do? Come on, tell me. Good son. I flattered him with a smile. My son waved his fist at me and then said seriously, No, he isn't interested in that kind of thing. I was instantly excited, but I ignored Mateo's somewhat complicated look. That's good. From now on, I declare that I'm going to pursue your dad. No, I mean, pursue your Uncle Benjamin. Mateo thought I was crazy and wanted to break off relations with me. After I said that, he kicked me out of my own house. My current appearance is different from my previous one. Before, I looked very heroic between my eyebrows, but now this face is full of childishness. The overly long bangs cover my eyes, making me look listless. When I got my hair cut, I emphasized to the barber, cut it shorter and style it into a slicked back hairstyle. An hour later, I held a bunch of flowers and with a slicked back hairstyle, I arrived at my company. When passing by the glass door, I deliberately checked myself in the mirror. This hairstyle had a bit of rascality, a bit of elegance, and a bit of youthful spirit. I grinned and glanced down at the flowers in my arms. The color combination of the flowers was like the passionate heart with which I loved my husband. Benjamin is just like a clingy puppy. He's easy to pursue, especially considering our years of relationship. I believe that even if I can't say that I'm Daniel, he will definitely recognize me. The prerequisite is that I have to increase my presence. But as soon as I stepped in, I was stopped by the receptionist. I'm here to see your Mr. Benjamin. I leaned against the reception desk and casually tapped on the table. Excuse me, do you have an appointment? Why do I need an appointment to come to my own company? But it's a bit complicated to explain my current situation. I'm not going to waste time with you. I held the flowers and headed straight for the elevator, but a security guard grabbed my arm and pulled me out, saying, "Which school are you from? You can't just barge in here. Did you go to the wrong place? Do you know who I am? I'm your boss. Don't stop me." During the argument, the elevator in front slowly opened. I looked up and happened to meet Benjamin's eyes. In an instant, my smile vanished. Why was Levi here too? I darted in, held the flowers properly, squeezed between the two of them, and said to Levi, "Why are you here?" That imposing manner was very much like a wife catching her husband in an affair, standing on the moral high ground at this moment and scrutinizing them. No wonder I reacted like this. Levi had had a crush on Benjamin for a long time. In the years since I died, I was most afraid that he would steal my man. It seemed that the two of them had finally gotten together. I gave Benjamin a reproachful look. "I really doted on you for nothing." Levi's gaze swept over the two of us, and suddenly he laughed. "Mr. Benjamin, is this your young lover? Is he an adult? He doesn't look like Mr. Daniel either." I stood in front of Benjamin, glaring at Levi menacingly. He stopped smiling. His eyes darkened, and suddenly he said, "This way of protecting your food is quite similar. Mr. Levi, stop joking." Benjamin said stiffly and walked out first. I glared at Levi and quickly chased after him. I grabbed his hand. His fingers were ice cold and trembled violently the moment I touched them. I said anxiously, "Benjamin, what's he doing here? Don't be deceived. He's not a good person." He stared at me blankly, then suddenly shook off my hand forcefully. "I don't know you, no matter what your purpose is. Considering that you're Mateo's classmate, I won't argue with you. Please leave as soon as possible." He glanced at the flowers in my hand. His eyes flickered. Maybe he remembered what had happened this morning. He frowned tightly and said, "I don't like men, no matter who sent you. Stop it." I stood there stupidly with the flowers in my arms, my heart aching. "I've come to see you with this bouquet of flowers. Why don't you recognize me yet? Benjamin, your eyesight is really getting worse. Go back." "Little classmate, countless people have used this trick hundreds of times." Levi put his arm around Benjamin's shoulder and looked at me provocatively. I was extremely angry because his posture was so much like that of a victor. Benjamin got into Levi's car. I hailed a taxi and followed them. We finally stopped at a bar. This bar belonged to Levi. It wasn't open for business, except for Benjamin and Levi. There was no one else inside. "I'm going to see what they're up to behind my back." I sneaked in. From what Levi said just now, they're not in a romantic relationship. But their relationship must be special. Otherwise, they wouldn't be walking arm in arm. Could they be in the flirting stage? When I was alive, I always spoke ill of Levi in front of him. He didn't look happy at that time. He must have been on my side. I can't understand why they're drinking together after I've been dead for 7 years. They're still drinking one glass after another without stopping. Is Levi determined to steal my man? I'm itching to fight. I'm going to knock him down if he makes any moves on Benjamin. But neither of them is talking. It's like they're in a competition, and the atmosphere is tense. Soon, Benjamin got drunk and staggered towards the restroom. I was a bit worried about him. While another drunk passed out on the table, I quietly followed him. Benjamin's hair was completely wet with water, dripping down his cheeks. There was an abnormal flush on his face. As soon as I walked in, he stared at me in the mirror. His eyes were watery, and his black hair hung over his forehead. He looked exactly like when I first met him. At that time, he was sold to a creditor by his family to pay off a debt. I rescued him. He was just in his early 20s when he came with me. My heart started pounding like crazy. Just then, he gave me a gentle smile and said, "You're here." I was stunned. Did Benjamin recognize me? No, that can't be right. With this face? He just said he didn't know me. Wait a sec. He gargled and stared at me with bright eyes. "I've had some wine today. I'll kiss you after I wash up." What? I used to forbid him to drink. Does he have such a bad drinking behavior? Does he kiss people randomly when he's drunk? Could he have mistaken me for Levi? I yanked him over forcefully, stared into his eyes and gritted my teeth, saying, "Who do you want to kiss?" He stared blankly at me, then lowered his head and kissed my lips. A warm sensation came over me, and a very faint smell of alcohol spread in my mouth. He said hoarsely, "Of course it's you, Daniel." I was overjoyed. Did Benjamin really recognize me? Before I could think further, Benjamin suddenly hugged me tightly and buried his head in my neck. He greedily absorbed the warmth from my body, his whole body trembling. Scalding tears trickled from my neck all the way to my chest. Daniel, did I do something wrong? You haven't come to see me for a long time. Brother, I've been to many places we went to together, but I couldn't find you anywhere. I can't find you anymore. His sobbing voice scraped against my eardrums. In an instant, my heart felt as if it was soaked in green plum wine, sour and astringent. My eyes suddenly turned red. I placed my hand on his head and ruffled his hair roughly. Daniel? Levi leaned against the wall, swirling his wine glass and looking at us with a mocking expression on his face. Before, you were going crazy at thin air. Now, you've got lucky. He staggered over drunkenly, grabbed my chin with one hand, squinted his eyes and leaned in, saying, "Let me see where you look like Daniel." I slapped Levi's hand away and kicked him, saying, "Levi, get out of here. You're disgusting." His wine glass fell to the ground. He frowned and stared at me, his eyes also turning red. He murmured, "It wasn't an illusion just now. You really do look a bit like him. Scold me a few more times." Benjamin suddenly looked up, glanced at Levi and then at me. Suddenly, he grabbed Levi's collar and said, "You saw him too, right? He's really back. This time it's not a hallucination." He blinked, and tears slid down his eyes. He reached out and touched my face, his voice trembling slightly, saying, "I can touch you this time." Levi pities to look at Benjamin, face full. Something was wrong. Both Benjamin and Levi were acting strangely. Mateo suddenly rushed in from somewhere, pulled Levi aside, and nervously and quickly glanced at him. Then he looked at me in surprise. "William, why are you here?" Levi fell onto him, and he casually put his arm around his waist. I looked at him seriously. "Son, what's wrong with your Uncle Benjamin?" Benjamin was sick. In the 7 years since I died, he could see me almost every day. But the first thing he did when he woke up was to coldly drive me out of my own home. As soon as I started to talk about Daniel, I would get stuck in my throat. I would either cough violently or have difficulty breathing. I was extremely depressed and directly took a taxi to my cemetery. I sat cross-legged in front of the tombstone, picked up an apple and started to eat it. When I choked, I drank the wine placed beside me. Later, when I got drunk, I lay on the tombstone and rambled. Vaguely, I felt someone pulling me and making a phone call to someone. When I regained consciousness again, I felt myself being carried on someone's back. I squinted at him and suddenly laughed. "Benjamin!" The man suddenly stopped in his tracks, and then mercilessly threw me into the back seat. The jolt made my head even dizzier, and I passed out drunk. When I woke up, I was back in the guest room of my house. Benjamin was sitting by the bedside, staring at me with red eyes. I quickly sat up and gave him an ingratiating smile. "Benjamin, did you carry me back? Why were you there? Why do you call me Benjamin? Why did you give me flowers?" I'm your lover Daniel," with severe coughing and strong dizziness. I blinked my misty eyes at him and saw Benjamin full of disappointment. "Can't speak? No matter who sent you. Stop imitating him. Don't appear in front of me again. And don't disturb his peace." His hand on his leg tightened into a fist, and his eyes were fierce. "If I find you making a mess in front of him again, I'll make you pay the price." While I was in a daze, a noisy sound came from downstairs. Benjamin left, and I followed him out. "Come on, move this away." A dark-skinned young man, with bright eyes, was about to pick up the blue and white porcelain placed in the living room, but suddenly changed direction and exclaimed in surprise, "Mom, so much good wine. Put it down." Benjamin shouted sternly. The wine bottle crashed to the ground, and the wine spilled all over the place. The man laughed wildly. "Uncle, I've put it down." I frowned tightly. How did Benjamin's family get in? "This isn't the place for you. Get out of here right now." "Second brother, can you lend your sister in law 500,000 yuan to buy a wedding house?" Benjamin's partial adoptive mother grabbed his sleeve. "We've long since severed our relationship." Benjamin gritted his teeth and said, but she knelt on the ground with a thud. "Please." Benjamin looked at her coldly. Seeing that he was determined, his adoptive mother's face changed and she cursed. "You heartless thing. That person is dead, and you're still clinging to his property and not giving a single cent. You're a jinx. You jinxed your parents to death. And you jinxed that homosexual who liked you to death. Why don't you just jinx yourself to death?" Sure enough, the scoundrels live long. Benjamin picked up the shards on the ground, his eyes red as he pressed them against her neck. "What did you say? Say it again." Benjamin's sister-in-law pulled the woman up and took a few steps back. "You're crazy. You're really crazy." I almost had a heart attack and rushed over to stand in front of him. I was so angry that I cursed. "How can you be so shameless? Is your whole family a bunch of vampires? Who is this? Your kept lover?" No wonder you have no money to help your family. You're really disgusting. Get out. Get out of here right now. Benjamin roared heart-rendingly. Those perpetrators stared at him covetously. My chest was filled with anger. I punched his nephew in the face, and he fell to the ground on his butt. Just then, Mateo rushed in with the security guards, controlled them and drove them out. Then he turned to me remorsefully and said, "They said they were Uncle Benjamin's relatives, so I let them in. I'm sorry." He looked at me timidly. I gave him a glare, then turned around and squatted in front of Benjamin to coax him. "Can you let go of your hand?" He tightly held the piece of debris in his hand, and blood dripped down from his palm drop by drop. He was trembling all over, looking at me with red eyes. "Sorry, Daniel, they've made a mess of the house. Don't be angry. I'll clean it up right away." Benjamin had an episode and mistook my face for Daniel's again. I lightly opened his hand, and my heart was bled with blood from glass, and my heart was sore that I made him go to the hospital. He was as obedient as a puppy all the way. After the episode, he was even sleepy, holding my hand. He looked at me with wet eyes. After I coaxed him to sleep, I called the housekeeper at home. They broke into the house illegally and maliciously damaged other people's property. Call the police and arrest them all. Benjamin was in a very bad state. While I went to pay the fees for him, he was sitting alone in the emergency room, talking nonsense and laughing. After his hand was bandaged, he was transferred to the neurology department directly. After he fell asleep again after getting in 4 drip, I planned to go and get him some change of clothes. After leaving the hospital, I hadn't walked far when a motorcycle rushed straight towards me. At that moment, cold sweat broke out on me and I felt like my soul had left my body. During the 10 seconds when my soul was out of my body, I was extremely anxious, fearing that I would never be able to get back into this body again. Until a strong suction force came, I suddenly opened my eyes, with my chest heaving violently. The culprit had already got off the motorcycle. Seeing me wake up, he mocked me. "William, I didn't expect you to be so afraid of death. Then how dare you provoke me?" I flew into a rage and landed punch after punch on him, beating him to a pulp. The person in front of me was extremely evil. I awakened William's memories. He was an orphan. He got into the city's key high school through his own efforts, but because he refused to help the person in front of him cheat, he was bullied by him. He not only ruined his part-time job but also framed him for molesting a female classmate. That female classmate had been bribed by him. For a while, William was forced to commit suicide. He had already been driven to death before Mateo saved him. I grabbed his collar and slapped him several times in the face. "You really deserve to die. William, don't worry. Since I've occupied your body, I'll avenge you." I disgustedly patted the dust off my clothes, pushed my hair back into a slicked back style, and saw Levi standing not far in front of me. His eyes were very red, and he firmly called me Daniel. "We are both members of a boxing club. It's normal for him to know my fighting style." I twitched the corner of my mouth and said, "You're not blind after all." I never realized that Levi was so clingy. When I was packing Benjamin's clothes, he kept nagging beside me the whole time. "I'm still alive and well. Don't have any thoughts about Benjamin." I warned him. He was stunned for a moment. "Who said I like him? You don't like him?" I was surprised. "Then why do you always invite him to drink?" "What do you mean invite him? I clearly invited you." After Levi said that, we both fell silent. Levi said that he asked Benjamin to pass on the message that he wanted to invite me to drink. Benjamin said that Levi wanted to invite him to drink. Goodness, I always thought I had a pure-hearted puppy, but it turns out to be a scheming one. I love him even more. But Levi wasn't happy. "He didn't recognize you before me. You died for him. Now that you're alive again, why not consider me?" I shook my head and said, "His heart recognized me earlier than you did." In the year when I was with Benjamin, Mateo was 7 years old. I was 25, and Benjamin was 18. At that time, my sister and brother-in-law had just died, and the Lin family was in a mess. I was overwhelmed with things, but I still saved Benjamin. I sponsored his schooling, and he helped me take care of the kids and respectfully called me Mr. Daniel. Benjamin's family was heartless, so we lived together. After he tutored Mateo's homework and put him to sleep, he would also massage my shoulders. His skills were very good, and it was very comfortable. Love came quietly. At first, I couldn't bear to see him being buried in obscurity. Later, my love for him became out of control. I began to visit his school frequently, taking him out for meals and giving him gifts. He also treated me better. Every day when he got home, he would give me a massage and even wash my feet as an extra service. That day, he pressed a bit too hard, and I instinctively lifted my foot, splashing water on his face. Just as I was about to apologize, he grabbed my ankle and placed my foot on his shoulder, then looked up at me. My heart skipped a beat. Water droplets were on his face. He looked so innocent, seductive, and alluring at the same time. Somehow, my foot ended up on his crotch. Then things got out of control. I simply grabbed some change of clothes and went to the hospital. Levi kept following me. Even before I entered the ward, he suddenly grabbed my wrist and pinned me against the wall. His eyes were red, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Daniel, I've loved you for so many years. Why can't you just take a look at me? What's so good about Benjamin? He's just a good-for-nothing. He should just rot in the mud. He's not worth what you've done for him." Just as I was about to scold him, I saw Benjamin standing at the ward door, looking at us. I kicked Levi away with one foot and walked towards Benjamin. In the ward, Benjamin's eyes were red, and he was very emotional. He said, "Who on earth are you? Why does Levi call you Daniel? He only loves Daniel. Why is he acting like this towards you?" I opened the wontons on the bedside table and found that the boss had put scallions in them. Benjamin doesn't eat scallions. I picked up the chopsticks and picked out the scallions one by one for him. Benjamin stared at me intently. I smiled and said, "Benjamin, if you want to figure things out, then take your medicine. After taking the medicine, you'll know who I really am." The psychologist said that Benjamin never takes his medicine. After the hallucinations disappeared for a few days, he would rush over nervously for a checkup, afraid that he had recovered. After learning that he hadn't recovered, he would leave satisfied. The doctor said that one day, he just stopped coming. I knew what he meant. If Benjamin's illness was left untreated, he would die. Benjamin shouldn't stay in the same place. He's still young and can't ruin his whole life just because he fell in love with someone. It's very difficult to get Benjamin to take his medicine. After I said that, he refused. He said, "You were sent by Levi. He wants me to never see Daniel again. He's jealous that I can see my elder brother while he can't." I was so angry that I laughed. "Fine, then open your eyes wide and see clearly if I'm really sent by him." I started to launch a strong offensive against him, wishing I could replicate all the things I did with him before. No matter what I did, he still didn't believe me. He was convinced that I was sent by Levi, and even Mateo became my accomplice in his eyes. He also said that he's fine now and doesn't need treatment. I really don't know what to do with him. Just then, Mateo called and said, "William, come to school quickly. Michael has posted things about you online." Great. I was so angry with Benjamin and was just looking for someone to vent my anger on. He just happened to come along. When I got to school, Michael was doing a live stream, accusing me of molesting female classmates and beating him. He pointed his phone at me and said, "It's him. He bullied female classmates." I couldn't stand it and said a few words to him, and then he beat me up like this. Look at the injuries on my face. The homeroom teacher was blocked by his minions. When he saw me, he quickly said, "William," quickly apologized to him. "Michael, put away your phone. Don't do live streams at school." I stepped forward and kicked his phone over, then punched him right in his pig-like face. He covered his face and wailed, and I kicked him to the ground. "What are you doing? Stop right now. Don't you want to take the college entrance examination?" I wanted to clear William's name, but I couldn't ruin his life either. When I let go of Michael, I saw Benjamin coming behind the principal, his eyes fixed on me, full of inquiry. Thanks to Benjamin's bail, I wasn't held accountable. Levi sent the surveillance footage from the hospital entrance. The footage showed that he hit me with his motorcycle first, and then I fought back. The principal criticized me a bit and then let me go. Benjamin stared at me for a long time and said, "Your fighting style is very similar to his, and so is your way of scolding people." Levi quickly interrupted and said, "Benjamin, don't you dislike him? Let him go to me." "Why?" he asked. "There's no reason. Benjamin, take some medicine." The girl who slandered William could say such things for money, so she could also retract her statement for money. She went live and publicly apologized to William, then pitifully said that she was coerced by Michael. With the college entrance examination approaching and Michael's previous popularity, he suddenly became the hottest topic. With the influx of traffic, she made a fortune. Benjamin also pressured the Wu family. Since Michael was an illegitimate child, in order to cooperate with the Lin group, his father immediately distanced himself from him and kicked him out of the house. I looked at him gratefully and said, "Thank you." Benjamin just looked at me and said in a deep voice, "You're welcome. I won't let anything happen to you until I figure out what's going on with you." After Benjamin started taking medicine, he frequently came to our school. When having lunch with Mateo, we always saw his figure. Of course, Levi was also there. Like me, Mateo noticed the two of them from the beginning. He said, "William, are you really my dad? Why do you suddenly ask this? So who were you dating before?" Mateo looked at me seriously. I know this kid likes Levi. Son, why do you like someone so old? Uncle, he isn't old. You also like older men. Your Uncle Benjamin isn't old. Your dad was 29 when he died, and your Uncle Benjamin is 30 this year. The age difference is just right. The girl who slandered William also stopped reviewing. She stayed at home and went live every day. Just when I thought I would never hear about her again, she suddenly made the hot news. She was killed. The police came to the school for an investigation. With the college entrance examination approaching, the parents were full of complaints. Because of those 2 live broadcasts, the school's reputation was ruined, and we were all sent home to review and wait for the exam. Recently, Benjamin has been looking at me more and more differently. After taking the medicine and the hallucinations disappeared, he still saw Daniel's shadow in me everywhere. He began to suspect. When he came to pick up Mateo, he even helped me carry my school bag and open the passenger door. Thoughtful Benjamin is back again. I even wanted to hug him warmly, but Mateo was depressed because of his failed confession. So I gave up the idea. When the car reached a turning, a blinding white light came. Benjamin slammed on the brakes. The seat belt tightened painfully against my chest. A loud crash sounded. Instinctively, I wanted to reach out to protect Benjamin, but someone suddenly hugged me tightly and shouted, "Daniel!" The airbag popped open with a bang, making me dizzy. Amid the spinning whirl, I could only hear Benjamin shouting my name heart-wrenchingly. I wanted to answer, but I was sucked into a whirlpool. Am I dead again? But why do I feel my head hurts so much? My body is so heavy, and there's someone crying in my ear? It's so chaotic. I struggled to open my eyes and saw Benjamin's red-rimmed eyes. He asked, "Daniel, are you in a lot of pain? That day, you bled a lot. A steel bar pierced through your chest. You must have been in excruciating pain. You're most afraid of pain. It's my fault. I didn't protect you well." Steel bar? It was clearly a car yesterday. Where did the steel bar come from? Benjamin was talking about the accident when Daniel died. A runaway truck full of steel bars rushed towards them. Unable to dodge, I could only turn the steering wheel sharply to protect Benjamin as much as possible. It didn't hurt. I squeezed his hand tightly. You don't feel pain when your adrenaline is soaring. I was gone before I even felt the pain. As soon as I finished speaking, his tears fell again. I sighed, reached out to wipe his tears. But the more I wiped, the more tears there were. I could only hold his face and kiss him. "Benjamin, don't cry. I'm fine now, aren't I?" Benjamin saved Daniel. My words were like a heavy hammer striking his heart. He trembled all over and suddenly hugged me tightly. It's not that Benjamin has a mental illness that makes him always see Daniel. Rather, he won't let himself off the hook and always refuses to forgive himself. When his emotions finally calmed down, I asked him, "How's Mateo?" "It's okay. He just scraped his skin. Only you are more seriously injured, with a mild concussion. No wonder my head aches a bit and I feel a bit nauseous." Through the crack of the door, I saw Levi passing by anxiously. I asked Benjamin to support me to go and see Mateo. I saw Levi squatting beside his bed looking at his foot. Mateo's foot was fully plastered. "What's going on here?" Levi was very worried. Mateo looked pitiful and said, "My leg is useless. You didn't like me originally, and now you must look down on me even more. Uncle, you can go. Don't come to see me anymore." I didn't. "Don't move around." I looked at Benjamin and said, "Just scraped his skin?" Benjamin was extremely surprised and said, "He really just scraped his skin. The plaster is fake. I just saw it was delivered by an errand boy. This kid is quite scheming." Michael was the one who hit us. Since he didn't have a driver's license and couldn't control the vehicle well, Benjamin took emergency evasive action, so we weren't seriously injured. He wasn't that lucky. After hitting our car, he drove straight ahead and crashed into the curb. The car was instantly overturned. Under the violent jolt, the fuel tank burst, and the fire quickly engulfed the car. He didn't survive and was directly burned to a cinder. The police found out from the phone that was thrown out of the car window that he was the murderer of that girl. There were chat records, photos and videos as evidence, and the case was declared closed. During the violent car accident, my soul didn't leave this body. It seems that I did a good job and William was very satisfied. Benjamin accompanied me to buy a tomb for William. It was not far from Daniel's tombstone. I sent him a bunch of flowers and burned the new article for him. "Minors can't drink alcohol. Drink juice instead." I poured him a glass of juice and clinked glasses with him. "May you be safe and happy in your next life, and never worry about food and clothing." The wind in the cemetery was very strong. Benjamin put a piece of clothing on me. I looked at him and held the hand that was holding mine even tighter. God gave me a chance to start over, and I will cherish it more. Extra story. I attended Benjamin's alma mater in college and studied the same major as him, which is also my old major. Benjamin is quite famous here. He is an outstanding entrepreneur. Most of the classmates in the class have heard of him and admire him very much. After returning to our previous relationship, I was a bit dissatisfied when he called me Daniel. I'm only 18 this year, and you're already 30. How can you call me brother? Isn't that making me sound old? He looked wronged. Do you think I'm too old? I really didn't mean that. But he became my shadow on the pretext of keeping an eye on me. With his incredibly handsome face, he would say to everyone he met, "This is my boyfriend. Please take good care of him. He is my boyfriend. We're together." Less than a week after the start of school, my tutor, my classmates, and the club I joined all knew that I had a celebrity entrepreneur boyfriend who had also donated a building to the school. We're in a free, love relationship and we'll get married. If we can't get married in the country, we'll get married abroad. You must all come then. Come everyone. I was really speechless. Late at night, Benjamin was about to start his daily exercise. When his hand touched my chest, I calmly opened my eyes and said, "Who are you?" He froze all over, sat up and looked at me, and tears suddenly streamed down his face. It backfired. I quickly sat up and hugged him. Then I found that he was trembling all over and quickly apologized. Sorry. I was just joking with you." He choked with sobs. "This joke isn't funny at all. Don't scare me, Daniel." It turned out that he kept such a close eye on me because he was afraid that I would suddenly disappear and become that William whom they didn't know each other. I won't say that again. Don't be afraid, Benjamin. What if your husband clings to you like a male ghost? My answer is, there's no way. You have to spoil him. Can you divorce him?